Hey guys, welcome to your week 11 video. So this would be the practice video, but we have a guest in, so it's a slightly different angle. Still going to talk about the practical aspects of IMC. No better person to do that than Nick Eggleton. He runs his own agency called Electric. So we're just going to do the same thing we did with Carla a couple of weeks ago, a bit of a Q&A. Feel free to shout through any questions, put them in the comments please. That's why I'll be looking down at my phone, I'm not just going to be texting people. So we'll put them to Nick straight away. But I'll get started, and you can see Electric in the background, that's Nick's branding. So tell us a bit about Electric, Nick.
So Electric started in July 2016, so it's nearly 2 years old, as a full service integrated communications agency, based on the premise that the ADA model starts with attention and awareness. So our positioning in the market is as an attention agency, and our strapline is generating brand attention. And that is for business to business and business to consumer brands, small businesses in the main, most of them national, but we're headquartered here in Perth. My background is 30 years, I know I don't look it, 30 years in the advertising business, worked in design agencies, worked in PR agencies, but mainly advertising agencies, so I'm kind of an old-fashioned ad man, brand man, and that's what we do with our clients.
And what kind of clients are you working with at the moment?
I'm gazing up and to the right to actually remember what's on my computer screen. So I've got clients from accountants and other professional services, so like engineers, IT consultants in the B2B space, serviced office companies, and then in the B2C space I've got a micro distillery based in Dongara, which is interesting. I've got a carpooling app, a recruitment app, a hair salon, a trichology business, a trichology clinic. So like really kind of varied of industries and sectors.
And my next question was about marketing. So this is integrated marketing communications, which is kind of different from the other weeks, which we covered different aspects such as social and search. So how do you do all this stuff in an IMC?
Yeah, I think when you've been working in the industry for 30 years, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
Because I've never specialised. I started off as a print buyer in an advertising agency, and then worked in production, and in media, and account management, and then into new business. And so before I started my own agency back in the UK in 2001, before I came here, I had it for 13 years. I used to be we used to be faced with clients who had really strategic business issues, and to offer them only one solution, like, oh, you need social media. Well, it wasn't in social media in 2001, but oh, you need advertising on TV. Wasn't the only solution. So the more tools you have in the toolbox, the more helpful you can be with the business solution. So that was the premise, effectively, and I've never really strayed from that. In that, the more tools that become available, you train yourself to use the tools, but strategically you choose the right tool for the job. So you use a hammer when you need a hammer. So I've got a very broad range of skills, but in terms of tactical support, but all comes from a really strong strategic sense in terms of what's really important, what budget have we got, how much time have we got, what's the business case.
Yeah. And we were talking just before we went on air actually about, so you get social media agencies and you get search agencies, and if you go to them obviously as with needing some marketing help, they're going to recommend what they're good at. So Nick just said, what was it, don't ask a barber if you need a haircut?
Yeah, so it's an old Warren Buffett quote. It says never ask a barber if you need a haircut, because the answer will always be yes. And so if you ask a digital agency for a solution, the answer will only ever be a digital solution. And at Electric we offer traditional digital, online, offline, passive, active, any kind of appropriate tool for the job. We don't really take any favourites.
Yeah, cool. Just a reminder, guys, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll shout them out. And we have one through from Sheridan. So I'm just reading it here. Do you find you use similar tools dependent on the industry, or does it differ between each individual client?
Yeah, so I have a favourite phrase, which is "it depends." And the more complicated the question, which that's quite a complex question, the more likely the answer is it depends. So it depends on the sector, on the audience, on the budget, on the maturity of the business, on the category that they're playing in. So the tools always, it's almost like each solution is like a fingerprint there. It's like it's going to be different to the next. So there's no one book that's going to answer A. You know, it's never like that.
You mentioned budget.
Yeah.
Marketing can be pretty expensive. So
Yeah.
have you any issues around maybe a client coming to you and wanting to do everything, but they don't appreciate the resources required?
Yeah, with infinite resources in humans and finances, pretty much anything's possible. But marketing's a great drain on a business, and one of the things that I found with businesses in Australia is because it's been a growing economy, market share hasn't been the important challenge. It's about retention, because the market's grown, so the slice of the cake's grown. Now, with a contracting economy, or particularly here in Western Australia, a contracting economy, actually stealing market share is the challenge. And to steal market share, you need to have increased share of voice, share of mind. To increase share of voice, share of mind, you need to make more noise than you were making before, which means you need to spend more money than you were making before. And typically in the UK, businesses will spend between 5 and 10% of sales on marketing. Over here, if you said, I need you to spend 10% of your revenues on marketing your business in order to stand still, people would look at you aghast, because nobody very rarely spends that. Unless you're talking about big business, multinational businesses who really understand it, but small to medium-sized businesses don't understand what's required to change their position in the market. Yeah,
and I think the work you and I have both done with clients, the first thing you need to do is educate them around what marketing is and why they need it, what part they need.
I saw a really good quote in a book as a guy called Mike Edmonds, who was the creative director at a Perth agency called Meerkats. He's written a book just recently called Truth, Growth, Repeat, and in the book he talks about that, and he says it's better to be an empathetic coach with your clients than try and lecture them. So it's kind of nudging them along the journey, and I find that quite often. It's if you go in and you say what I've just said, which is you need to spend 10%, you get a shock and you show them the door very quickly. Whereas if you say you need to spend a little bit more, and you need to spend it in this place, and don't expect too much from it, and just manage expectations. It's the hardest part of working in an agency with clients is managing expectations, because with the experience and expertise that you have, you know what's realistic, but clients sometimes don't understand what realism is.
So coming back to the IMC thing, which is the topic we're covering this week, are you doing any kind of integrated work at the minute with a particular client?
Yeah, so having thought about this question, I'm going to use the micro distillery in Dongara called Illegal Tender as a kind of a good case study. So Illegal Tender first approached Electric and asking about social media and about how to improve their content on their social media channels. And we kind of keep asking the question why to get to what the overall objective is. And then once we've got the overall objective, which is we need to sell more spirits, then we work out a strategy, which is and then how we support that strategy with the marketing. And so we've ended up refreshing their brand identity, helping them price and package a new product. We're doing their social media, we've refurbished their website and renovated it, and we're doing the search engine optimization on that. We've helped them create a brand for a media event, so they're going to launch their new product at a music event in Dongara in September, and we created the identity for that. We created all the marketing materials, so the flyers, the posters, the social advertising. We'll be doing electronic direct mail and SMS marketing to to the target audiences. So it's a full kind of spectrum, and it all comes back to like, so what's the objective? How much money have we got? How much time have we got? Because if you've got no time, then you need to spend more money. If you've got all the time in the world, then you can afford to, take your time and be patient to get there. So it's kind of managing those different criteria effectively. So we started off actually recommending that they produced a little neck tag to go on the bottle, so that when the bottle hits the stores, that people can read the story, because all they've got is a label. So they can actually read the story. They've got cocktail suggestions, so how you can use the spirit. So a little bit of education, a little bit of the brand story. We did shelf wobblers, so a little shelf bar, which is like a little card that goes on the end of the shelf that you put the product on top of that says new, made in UWA. It's kind of like, oh look, there's something new, and it catches the eye, so it gets the attention, so then it gets consideration, so you start to work your way down the funnel.
It's good having you in, because I tend to over-exaggerate the importance of digital and social, so it's good having Nick in to just emphasise that integration is the key. There's lots of different options, and to do this properly is really complex, and usually involves quite a big team of people. So there's marketing roles for, depending on what your interest is, there's marketing role for most people. On that note, Zoe, what does a marketing firm look for in taking on an intern or an employee?
An application.
Yes, get in touch. Most people don't put themselves out there and get in touch. That's the first thing.
We have a rolling internship program, and it starts off with people who are interested in getting in contact. And the skill that we look for most is the one that we test for, which is writing ability. So quite often we will set an applicant an opportunity to show that they've got some skills in communication, because being able to write in persuasive terms is at the heart of marketing communications. Even if you're not a writer, being able to communicate through email or through memos or in presentations with clients how you want to persuade them, because it's a persuasion business, so you need to persuade people. And if you can't write eloquently, in well, not waffly English, but well structured kind of way, then it's very difficult to find a place for you in an agency. That said, there are opportunities for people who don't have those skills in written English, but have those skills in graphic design or in video or photography. So we've taken on interns who dyslexic. I mean, really poorly, able to communicate in English because of that challenge. But they were great visually, so they were great, from an art direction point of view. So they could use a camera really effectively. They could use graphic design tools like Canva or Illustrator. They're great at video and editing. Video and editing is much more of a scarce skill that's really valued in the business. The video editing.
Yeah. So I think putting yourself out there, getting in touch, and being ready to show what area you're skilled in, a specific area, is really important. I think
most businesses that are acting ethically are looking for a value exchange with the intern. Yeah. So the mentoring that comes in exchange for some opportunity to show value. And it's that value exchange that we look for. So if you can't offer the agency value, the value exchange is only one way. So you end up helping that person, but them not helping you back, which is inequitous.
By the way, I'll put Nick's details in the comments after the video, so you can check out Electric's website and Nick's profile on LinkedIn. And as I've said before, a really good profile on LinkedIn is a starting point, because first thing anyone's going to do is they're going to look for you online. So if you say, I really want to work in social media, and you don't have a profile on LinkedIn or on Twitter or whatever, then you're not going to work in social media. So I'll ask one more of the questions I come up with, and then Daniel's got one, and feel free anyone else to jump in.
Okay.
What channels would you say are getting the most spend at the moment? Is that a fair question?
I can only answer for the clients that I've got. A lot of clients are putting money into social media channels because there's no organic reach anymore. So if people want to do social and want to make an impact with their messaging, they have to boost it, they have to amplify it using paid media. So a lot of people are increasing spend in that way.
Yeah.
For some clients, it's search and display advertising, so search engine marketing, like Google AdWords. That's really important for lead generation, particularly B2B.
Yeah.
I know I answered this question when you asked me it before, and I can't remember what I wrote.
You're doing all right. So social and search, but do you think that's the spend is there because it's on trend and not necessarily because it's the best place for the?
Yeah, it's not always it's not the best place. It's almost like a hygiene item there. It's like, right, okay, what are we doing on social?
Yeah.
How important is social? And it's a box to tick to make sure you've considered it. I think the areas that I like to think about clients changing is their customers' interaction with the experience. So experiential kind of stuff, brand activation.
Yeah.
That's getting a lot of interest. You're actually getting your product or your service into the hands of your targets or your customers.
So hence the festival and
hence actually looking at the business more as a media channel, so as a content as a revenue generator rather than just as a cost.
Yeah. I'll get to another question from the audience. So Daniel has asked quite a long question, but basically, say you were offered a job in a marketing firm, what tells you that that's a good place to work? I mean, he's asking specific about some training that they might offer, so that you're not like out pushing product, but you're actually doing real marketing. Any tips you would have there?
I wrote a blog called Hunting the Unicorn. There's a lot of client businesses and agencies that are looking for people with such a diverse range of skills that it's almost impossible to have any experience or expertise in them at such an early age. So if the employer is asking for unreasonable expectations of your ability to add value and they're not prepared to spend the money on training, then that's not probably a good fit.
Yeah.
The other thing I talk about when I talk about careers in marketing is to really self-awareness. If you're a numbers person and if you like the rigors of the maths and the science and the evidence, social media and creative businesses are kind of the opposite end of the scale. So try and find a role within the agency where you do something that you're passionate about, something that you love. If you love numbers, market research is great, media planning is great, because they really take data. What do you say in Australia?
Neither of us are Australians.
If you haven't picked that up already. So using the data. Whereas if you're a creative person, then you could become an art director or a graphic designer or a copywriter. Yeah. If you're a person like a really sociable and you get on with people and you've got good empathy, account management within agencies is really the career that you should pursue. Getting away from the numbers. And I'm very right-brained. I'm totally left-handed, and so that part of my psyche, that part of my personality, really suits ideas, but not the monotony of numbers and working things through. So I'm an ideas person, not a grind.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying through the whole unit to these guys, is that probably your perception of marketing at the start of the unit was it's all fluffy and graphic and design and things, but it's really not. And that's kind of important to emphasise this week when we talk about IMC, because there's, as I said, there's a role for everyone.
Yeah, I think Carla talked about client side and agency side in the video a couple of weeks ago, and it's quite right. In agencies, you get variety. It's like it's so stimulating, and if you're the kind of person that likes variety and gets bored very easily, working in an agency is great. If you're the kind of person that likes being methodical and really getting deep into the weeds in something and sticking at it and seeing something through, then the client side is better because you've got one brand, but you've got singularity of focus.
Yeah. I think we're pretty close to our time, so if you've any other questions that we haven't answered, Nick's in our group, privileged member of our group, so we could jump on and respond to your comments. Kathleen's emphasising the importance of LinkedIn. Currently, it got her marketing job at the moment. And Rory says, any tips for a good LinkedIn profile? He's currently lacking LinkedIn in his life. I mean, one tip from me would be ask for recommendations from people that you've worked with. That's a very simple thing.
Good photograph, good profile, join groups. Be active in groups. So ask questions or answer questions. Be helpful. So
join groups that around topics that you're interested in, because
marketing groups.
It's give and take. If you're not part of a community, the community's not going to want you.
Yeah, it's called networking,
yeah.
Not net sitting or net observing or net being voyeuristic. You've got to give value in order to get value.
So I think we'll finish up. Thanks, Nick, for the IMC example around the legal tender, and also for the advice to these guys. So as I said, I'll put Nick's details in the comments, and feel free to get in touch. I will see you guys next week. Thanks, Nick.
Cheers.